Introducing Sculpt Nouveau's Blackened Steel, a concentrated traditional patina to blacken iron and steel. Since it's concentrated, we're going to need to dilute it. We'll dilute it with distilled water. Distilled water is the best thing to dilute it with. We don't recommend using tap. And exact ratio is going to depend on what you're trying to achieve, but for this example, we're going to use 1 part blackened steel and 1 part distilled water. So that's a 50% dilution ratio. We'll go ahead and pour this into a different bottle and set it aside for now. We're going to start by sanding our steel with 180 grit. Now, we're not super picky on what grit you use, but I usually use 180 to 150, somewhere around there. If you go too high, then the pores don't open enough and you get a really uneven patina. So if you're going for uniform, try that 150 to the 180 range. After sanding, we'll use the Sculpt Nouveau metal cleaner and degreaser and a Scotch-Brite pad. We'll scrub this around for about a minute or so, and then we'll wash it down with water and dry it really good before we proceed. Now again, we're going to use a 50% ratio, or 1:1 with blackened steel and distilled water for this combination. You'll see when we go to spray it on, it instantly goes blue basically, and you can actually capture that, and we'll cover that a little bit more. I do recommend either rinsing super fast, which is hard to do, or just dilute it more, and we'll cover that in a minute. Right now we're going for kind of a dark gray to a black, and I like to do the Scotch-Brite pad. It's not a necessary, but I do it in most of my videos just to try and get a more uniform finish. It's easy to get uneven, but I like to show as often as I can how to get the more even processes, and it involves the Scotch-Brite pad while it's reacting on the surface. So we're going to do that here so you can see it. As always with the traditional patinas, it's important to make sure that it doesn't dry on the surface, otherwise we can get a secondary reaction, usually resulting in rust for the steel. Now I'll let this go for about 1 minute to 2 minutes in this specific case. It's a little drier out right now. Then we'll wash it down, dry it, and go on with a second coat of this 50% ratio. And typically you'll see it kick off a little bit faster. So while I'm going for about 1 minute to 2 minutes, you may be 3 to 5, which is what our instructions say. Just do a test sample so you can see the time frame that you're working with for this specific area that you are, because the hotter it is, typically the quicker you're going to need to rinse. And as with all traditional patinas, they do need to be sealed in, especially steel. So we're going to use a ClearGuard mat here, but you can use Smart Coat, HydroClear, Everclear, oil, wax. They all work completely fine over this finish. We've diluted it further, and we've got 1 part of blackened steel and 4 parts distilled water to try and get some of this blue coming through. And you've got to be quick still at this ratio. This just shows how concentrated the patina is. And I would probably dilute it even further just for your workings here if you're going for the blue. If you're going for a gray or a black, then this might be perfect for you. But I didn't get a full reaction because I had to rinse so soon, and I still didn't get to keep as many blues as I wanted. I coated it with Color Lock to get it sealed in to see if we can get that blue to pop, but it did turn out more gray. So we're going to try the bath method. And if you've ever done a bath method, you should know that the patina kicks off way faster. So at 4:1 still, the 20% ratio, it still went dark gray in a bath. So we diluted it more. Now we've got a 10% ratio, or 1 part black to 9 parts of distilled water. And you can see it's coming in much slower in comparison, but for a bath you should still dilute it much more. I could be spraying this on and probably get a lot better results as far as blue popping just for control. It's just something with a bath that they just kick off so much faster. Got a really cool pattern though. I'm pretty happy with this pattern. So it's just something you got to play with to figure out what works. Next we've got galvanized steel going into this 9:1 ratio. Again, a 10% bath. And it's going to be a little slower than the steel. Galvanized and zinc will react the exact same because it's the zinc in the galvanizing that we're reacting with. And this particular piece of angle iron, we're going to have black on the edges, but the main color of what we're looking for is what we're trying to show here. And I think that this is going to be a really cool patina into getting some of those really radiant blues on steel. And I'm going to continue playing and developing, and there'll probably be more videos in the future to show off other techniques of how to get really cool effects with this patina. And we're going to use the ClearGuard matte on this. I think it's important to note that we really only use the color lock to help pop the blues. They help hold those colors a little bit better, but the ClearGuard matte would work just fine as well. Traditional Blackened Steel, ClearGuard matte, and color lock are all available at www.sculptnouveau.com or by calling us at 760-432-8242.